It's always been my dream to fuck up a pro wrestler for real. So I get it today. Am I really gonna fight him? Yeah, I'm gonna punch his ass for real. I don't believe in me getting disrespected too. I'm too nice. Bet. That shit was not staged. I'm telling you that right now. How many subs to knock him out? That's a good question. 50 subs to knock him out. If he hits me back for real, I don't give a f. I want him to. Y'all want me to teabag him? People think this sweet. People think this a fucking game. Hey, you're right, Joel. I gotta show him some form of respect. Then they don't train no goddamn martial arts. I'm really going to hit him. I'm telling you. What should I do, chat? Should I pick him up? Should I slam him first or hit him? W if I should slam him first. I'm not around. You don't think I can do it, Miggy? Bet. My dad can't never call me a bitch. Fuck this dude. Oh, you think he's stronger than me? All right, Suave, watch. Shut the up. Shut the up, Suave. I bet you wouldn't be talking like this if you was in front of me, nigga. Chat, watch what I do to him. Tony, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you, Tony.
A few moments later.
So we really didn't know what to do. We just got into the pews and he shot through the stained glass windows. Yeah.
And did you ever see him?
My friend like ran, someone helped him like run out. He saw him, he was wearing all black and he had a ski mask on.
Many of us older people, we see the up and coming generation and we don't understand why they do life-changing things for seemingly no reason. Most of the reactions I've seen to Roger will acknowledge that he deserves very real, life-altering and corrective punishment for what was done. And personally, I think it's a kind of a self-own to really suggest otherwise. But this particular incident, this is closer to the talking point that I want to make in this particular video. So I'm going to leave Raja here for now. But with the most recent school shooting, we've got another conversation, particularly around guns, that's in the brewing. Now, I haven't listened to the news, and but the idea here is that if anyone has the solution with the take all the guns away, my only thing would be really, I would suggest to correct that phrasing to be more accurate, and it's take all the guns away from us. Everyone universally agrees that the government is not going to give up any guns or behold themselves to any type of restriction related to the weapons industry in general. Now, this slight alteration, this is going to turn the conversation away from the power that individuals should have to inflict violence upon one another, and the conversation would have to include and be adjusted to include the moral integrity of the government. Now, given recent events...
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, just one guy.
Unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
The appeal likely wouldn't stick with either Democrats or Republicans.
Chance that this will have backlash. There'll be a backlash to this. Taking people off the street, masked people, grabbing people off the street, and then sending them to a prison surrounded by alligators feels like eventually people are going to be persuaded that actually, if this is the way to have a immigration policy, a lot of people are going to go, well, I guess just fuck it. If it's going to be so over the top and insane and so disruptive and so inhuman, and we're putting 6-year-old girls in handcuffs.
Now, in India, there's a caste system, right? And this idea of the caste system, they have Brahmins, right, who are considered the traditional custodians of knowledge with control over schools, scriptures, and gods. And they are considered more like the priestly class here, right? They have Vaishyas, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but they have a long made up, these guys have long made up the business class, and they are really what we would call the merchants of today. We also have the Shudras. Now these guys were traditionally farmers and artisans, and their role was to essentially serve the top classes in general. And in this class system, it tells us of something regarding the nature of power, right? And I think my point is revolving really the last class that I'm going to mention here, and that class is the Kshatriyas, right? And these were traditionally known as the warrior class who had access to weapons. Some of the members of this caste are in the Indian military today. Now, this is the last class that I mentioned, but throughout this particular article, they're the second class that is mentioned, meaning that they are below the Brahmins, but they are above the Vaishyas. Folks, this is the systemic maintenance of power, is what we're looking at here, right? Because if the merchants ever get out of line, we'll say, the warrior class would be more likely to align themselves to the Brahmins and inflict violence when necessary. Back in the day, there was pretty much bipartisan agreement that we don't want large corporations poisoning the environment, right? These guys, the Koch brothers, they came in and they created a very comprehensive plan to convince Republicans that government overreach was the reasoning behind the regulations and responsibility on them and their companies, but also the reason why they wanted to take all the guns away. Today, we have now this conversation revolving around climate change. It's crazy because we're talking about the climate rather than whether my kids can drink out of the stream that is going through our property. Now, I haven't come into any contact with any particular piece of literature or research that shows this, but I think, and I really do believe, that the same way the Koch brothers wrap their tentacles around the Republican Party, there are entities that have wrapped their tentacles around the Democratic Party regarding the narrative of guns and gun ownership, because this conversation revolves around and is going back and forth between favoring either the NRA or a very questionable government. This brings me to my primary talking point. Now, there are entities that should be in this conversation, but they remain untouched. A more powerful way to really view these new and up and coming generations may be to view them as a different species altogether, right? Because the air is the same. It may not be that much different. And we'll say that the food and the drink consumption is comparable. Now, we'll say that even though there may be an argument regarding the prevalence of microplastics and the lack of regulation around producers that could very well start to make a case here too. But let's call it like this for now. I'm more so focused on, for this particular argument, on the emotional pressures that are applied to youth. Physically, like I said before, we're here. We're physically in the same room with these particular generations. So I think we need a more powerful perspective on how to really deal with this understanding of the problem, because let's say we have a group of aliens who are observing Earth from their ship in space, and they've been watching mankind for generations. But rather than focusing on the physical movements, they focus on the emotional fluctuations, right? Now, up until the 2000s, these aliens would be able to trace any significant emotional fluctuation to a person's daily life or the life of the people that they have direct relationships with. After the 2000s, these aliens would probably be looking at a person who could be relatively immobile and disconnected from the people they physically met, right? When they compare the newer generations to the older generations, these people may not move around as much. They may not be as connected to the people that they physically have met, their family members. So in terms of the emotional fluctuations that these aliens would be seeing in these newer generation beings, they would have to rework any system that they've built up to really trace emotions, emotional fluctuations of our species. I think it's important to state here, emotions are directly associated with biochemical changes. This can very well lead to physical changes in a person. This effect is something that I've noticed in my 20s. I'm about to be 34.
Damn! I'm sorry.
Now, I'm in an age group and have been blessed with at least enough emotional intelligence to separate myself from the websites and the social media apps. But if I were in a younger generation, I may not have made the same decisions for myself and my mental well-being. These weird tech guys, they're experienced in lobbying on both sides of the aisle. I think both sides really need to come to an understanding that your politicians do not work for you. They work for their donors. They only need to manipulate you. So, which is crazy because improving mental health could literally contradict their true goals. I worked in a microbiology lab, right? And in this lab, I would essentially expose bacteria to antibiotics and other things. Many of you may be asking, Sleepy, why are you bringing this up? And I want you guys to understand, I found ways to control large populations of bacteria by analyzing data sets. I bring this up because at some point I decided to really think about the idea of what these social media companies could be doing in their particular lab, because it did seem odd that I thought, like, wow, this kind of seems familiar if they're adjusting data sets to get the most time spent on their apps to get the most ad revenue. And it genuinely scared me to try and empathize with these people in terms of step into their shoes with my experience in that lab. Because I will tell you now that these weird tech guys, the morals aren't going to be one of the forerunners in terms of the drivers for any type of decisions that they make. They will look at us the same way I looked at bacteria in a test tube. It is tremendously scary when you are trying to control a population and you can look at data sets what you may think to do to get more ad money. The philosophy in Silicon Valley is move fast and break things. Now, rather than what I used to do was, basically getting this population of bacteria to respond in a certain way to whatever type of antibiotic or whatever type of things I put in the tube. These guys, they are absolutely desperate to get more money from ad companies. So the time spent on the app is the goal. More time spent on the app is the goal. The means, the methods, the results are not going to be in the conversation to any reasonable degree. These guys, they want the money. That's it. They need to fund the research and development that goes into their next robot girlfriend. Okay, it's a joke, but it's kind of scary in terms of just how on point that joke may be.
It just seems like we're at the point with technology where the physical and the digital worlds should really be fully blended.
These are not psychologically healthy adults. The problem is they have money and therefore power. They are surrounded by people who feed into their delusions about how intelligent they are.
All right, but we set up Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
Since they have money, politicians will literally give them more influence in society in a way that completely overshadows nonprofits that may be filled with way more intelligent people, but they simply have morals. A lot of these nonprofits, they are working on shoestring budgets. A lot of us old heads, we seem to think in really a way to where we alienate the kids today. We don't understand them. And a lot of that is due to the idea that these guys are quite literally test subjects to these weirdos and these freaks. Opium was prescribed by doctors. Future generations, they can be looking at us the same way that we look at someone who was prescribed and is taking opium for pain relief in the 1800s. The chances are is that your politician is on the take, so we can't depend on them to tell us that we're actually destroying ourselves. They're more likely to try to fix their tax rate in whatever district that they own for these weirdos to get to build more data centers in their area. They want to turn the world into a microchip. And I think it's important because with all this being said, I think I see truly, this isn't me just trying to deliver hopium now. I think there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And I'm hopeful for really this new generation because they may be very much able to surprise us as soon as we stop letting these weirdos and freaks run the show. We've never been exposed to this much information before. I call really this unconscious buildup in a person background noise, right? So this is like the things that drive behavior but we don't think about, right? So I call it background noise. I think today we would see this phenomena really more in the mental illness category, right? In terms of when we see significant amount of background noise, we usually see this manifested in a case of mental illness. What gives me hope is that when we look at creatives, when we look at the intellectuals in history, throughout history, we will see them as having a very unique background noise. They either had to deal with or they had extensive and more background noise than what we have today. That's what's so hopeful. We may be experiencing a lot of the negative side effects regarding background noise, but when these guys are able to focus and hone in on conscious goals, we'll see things materialize in a way. What I'm thinking about in particular is this idea of we sent astronauts to the moon with less technology than we have in our pockets today. When it comes down to looking around at the world, we don't see that reflected in terms of that jump in technological ability and the changes in society. When these guys start focusing though, we will, I believe, see something. I'm confident that we'll see something that reflects that change in technological ability, and we'll be able to really and truly experience what it means to live in this idea of a renaissance. Now that's going to conclude the video. Please remember to like and subscribe, but also I want you guys to take this idea with you, and that idea is that heroin was legal. What are we going to do about this today?
Where those who perceive truth may strive to make others see.
Big, powerful America, and shoot them for what?
On that continent, we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other.
With the last words on my lips, that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.